Hey, welcome back to Fixing Things. Today, we're on motorcycles. And we're on motorcycles because my motorcycle ain't running. Last time I worked on it, it was depressing. This time, it's not going to be depressing. So, I purchased this tank off of eBay, and it looked good on the bike. It did look good. It had a good shape. I don't know what they painted this thing with. Looks like they painted it with mud paint. I mean, it doesn't stick to it whatsoever. They didn't do no prepping. They didn't do nothing. They spray painted or whatever they used. They right over the dirt and the dust and everything else. It was terrible. Um, I mean, it's got chips in it and everything else. It's a good looking tank. Now, the problem is, it was supposed to fit my 1998 Sportster. It was supposed to be made to fit this. I should just have to bolt it on. Then all I had to do was sand it down and do all my prepping and for painting and paint it up. And I was going to do a good video on that. So what we are going to do is, here's my tank, and it doesn't have any scratches. Listen. But it does. One of the problems I was having was there's dirt in it. I mean, you can hear it rattling around in there. So this thing's been venting out for a couple months. I don't think I'll have a problem. And we'll get this thing right. So what's wrong with it was, I was working out on a me-haul truck, I believe, on a video, and I come back and I seen gas on the ground, and I said, "What's going on with that?" And I just got the bike kind of running. Turned the pit cock off, thinking it was the same problem I had before. It was leaking from the cheap Chinese hoses that was on it. Well, it wasn't leaking from the cheap Chinese hose. It was just plain old leaking. And because it was rubbing on the frame. And you can see here, it's got a crack in it from rubbing. So we're going to repair this, then repair the paint on it, and clean the rust out of the tank, or whatever it's in there, and then put it back on the bike. Oh, and I got a brand new pit cock. So we got a brand new pit cock for it with the filter, and we may have to, because I think it was rubbing right here. So I think we might grind that down a little bit too. We're gonna fix it. On this episode of Fixing Things, we're gonna fix my fuel tank, my leaky fuel tank. I got it. All right, I got it. All right, let's get with it. So here we are on my Sportster tank. Here's the hole in it, and I think we need to get all the debris out of this tank. I think we'll rinse it out with water a few times, and then put some vinegar in it in solution, and then let it sit for a few, and then try it again. Then we'll fix that dent. All right, so on these pit cocks, it's been a while. I think you just loosen the nut collar, and then you can spin the thing off. So I already got the wrench, and it shouldn't be too tight. And then the pit cock comes loose. Oh, it has a screen in it. Ew. All I know is trash was getting in my carburetor, causing the float thing to sticky. Nasty. This is a good pitcock. I thought it was bad, but I got a brand new one. Supposedly you can replace the filter on it. Ow, I don't know. I gotta figure it out. I got a brand new one. We'll check. This is probably the original Harley one. But that's nasty. I'm kind of curious of how the tank is made. I got a little camera. See some rust. Wonder what the bottom of the tank looks like. It's not too bad in there. You can see the water floating around. That's not too bad. Ooh, what's that? That's not too bad. We'll get the water out of it. Let's go ahead and fix the tank though. This thing worked pretty good. It's stiff. Not bad for free. All right, we got the tank all washed out. And now this area here, we want to hammer and dolly it, or we can't get a dolly in there, but we want to hammer it and increase this edge. So when you're using the hammer, you don't want to bang it. All you want to do is tap, 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 tap. Because if you bang it, you might break one of these wells here. Just gonna make this dent in some and increase this to come out further. And every time we crease that metal, more and more of this paint chips off because the metal is shaped different and no longer can adhere to the paint can no longer adhere to the metal anymore. You notice the motorcycle used to be a metallic blue. All right, so I think we need to test fit this. All right, let's see if we can get this thing on here. Get on the other side. Let me take the seat off so I can see back there. It still hits. get my light. So I know what you're thinking. Why is your seat, why is your tank rubbing? This is the factory tank for this bike. And the reason why it rubs is because I notched this frame and made a chopper out of it. So there's a cut here in the frame, brings the front up, which brings the tank back to rub here. Man, I don't think it's rubbing. I think what I'm hearing is the bolt rattling. All right. But I am going to grind the tank down also. Not the tank. I am going to grind the frame down a little bit. This metal here is really thick. It's got a 1/4-inch steel tubing, a 1/4-inch plate over top of it, hooked where it's all bound together. It's really, really rigid right there. So this piece right here is a 1/4-inch. The tubing that goes through is a 1/4-inch. The up tube right here, it bends over and has the plate over it, is a 1/4-inch, and it's all weld together. I'm pretty sure this is a critical structural point in the motorcycle, but it's all heavy duty. And I think if we grind a little bit on that spot where it was rubbing, I think we'll be okay. So you can see right here where it's been rubbing. Here's where I welded it. I cut a V-notch into it and raised it up 6 inches. And now, because of that, it rubs right here. So we're going to grind this piece down. All right. First, I just want to dust it. Oh, that's not a dust. All right, first we're just going to spray paint it. All right. We're not going to mess with that till it dries. We'll probably put another coat on it. All right, so we're going to clean this area up. We're going to use not this. That's too abrasive. We're going to use a DA sander, clean this area up because we want a nice clean spot for adhesion. All right, that looks pretty good. You can't even tell where the crack is. All right, next thing we got to do is we got to prep this area, make sure there ain't no grease in it, so we'll get some rubbing alcohol. So I'm using a 91% rubbing alcohol, isopropyl. Clean this whole area up right here. Because not only do we want adhesion, we want adhesion when we paint it also. All right, we'll let that air dry. A lot of people use mineral spirits and stuff like that, and mineral spirits actually is an oil base, and certain paints may fisheye when you use it. Isopropyl alcohol will not promote fisheye on your paint, and it's cheap. It's cheaper than thinners. All right, so we got the area prepped and cleaned for adhesion, and what I'm going to be using is a 2-part epoxy called JB Weld, and I use this on my engine block I had a crack block on the General Lee tractor. Used it on the spigot outside, under pressure, 70 psi of pressure, no problems. And I don't think we'll have a problem here either. So we're going to smear this whole area with JB Weld. So the way this stuff works is you mix a 50-50 mix of hardener and compound or something. And mix this stuff up. And it should turn a gray color when it's mixed. Don't want no marmalade look. Marmalade means not mixed. Smear it right down into that area. And this will also leave a little bit of a wear factor in that area in case it does ever want to rub again. It ain't going to ever rub again. We'll sand it down, smooth that out, we'll paint it, and you'll never know it's there. This stuff is hard. I can't read it because I ain't got my glasses on. But it's safe for gasoline. This is the epoxy steel, not just the regular epoxy. All right, we're going to let this harden up via the magic of camera, cinematic stuff. All right, while the JB Weld is hardening, we'll come over here and we'll check that's all dry. So we'll put another coat of Make It Brand New on here. This time we'll put a little bit heavier coat on it. Dude, that really is brand new now. We'll let that dry up. I think it's time to go inside and get a soda. Let this dry out. I'll go get me a bite to eat and a soda. Let this harden up, let the paint harden up. I'll come back. We'll do the fix and paint job on this, and then we're going to do something special on top of the frame. Come on, air compressor. All right, I'll talk to you when I get back. All right, it's been about an hour or so, and the paint is dried, but the epoxy is not hardened. So we're gonna attend to the frame section here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some stuff called mastic pads, not maxi pads, mastic pads. Now, in the electric industry, we kind of tend to call it maxi pads, but this is what you use. This stuff is waterproof. This stuff is basically almost indestructible. It's a butyl vinyl rubber, super adhesive. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut a piece of this off and place it right over top of where it was rubbing. And this should, if it does decide to go down and rub on that area, it will stop the any further issues with the thing. This stuff is like really hard to cut if I don't sketchy myself and cut myself. More than likely it's going to glue itself. Once it touches itself, it glues back itself. So just a little 1.5 by 2-inch piece, like so. Take the self-adhesive area off, and we're just going to place it right there on that spot, and it will mold to it and be a part of the bike forever. This stuff is amazing. Now, on the video that we did when we used the my daughter's trailer, there was also a mastic butyl rubber white tape. Same material, same kind of stuff. Probably could have used that here too. This is a lot thicker. This stuff is almost 1/4 of an inch thick. Maybe not quite 1/4. A little more than 1/8, not quite 1/4. This stuff you can wrap on electric wires and bare electric wires, and it will seal it up. Let's say you cut an electric wire with a shovel, like a wire's coming into your house, and you go, oh no, what am I going to do? Clean that area up the best way you can without touching that exposed stuff. Don't put no water on it. Wrap it in this stuff. It is permanently fixed. Permanently fixed. This area is fixed. All right. It's been a week, and I could have did this the next day, but I had to go back to work, and I didn't want to wait around for the epoxy to dry. So it takes like a half hour to an hour to be touch ready, but 24 hours to truly set up. And alcohol and gasoline may deteriorate if it's not completely cured. Once it's cured, it's supposed to be just like steel. So here we are at the, so you can see how it looks. We got it built up pretty good right here. We're gonna put a light sand on it and spray a little Rust-Oleum on it. Protect the nice lacquer, enamel, whatever this is, paint from getting the Rust-Oleum on it. And we're just gonna spray paint the part that got sanded and patched. So I got a little 220 right here. And we're just gonna scuff it up. The good thing about the Rust-Oleum is it fills in cracks and patches and stuff like that if it's not too big. And 220 grit, I don't want to get my 220 grit is will cover up with the paint. When I did the Mihal truck, 220 was the grit I used for my final sand, and it did a nice glossy coat. And if you watch some of my other videos, you'll know that I like Rust-Oleum paint. I painted signs that have been out for 8 years now in the sunshine, and it still looks good. I mean, it's going to weather over years. Regular car paint weathers over the years. But just like anything else, once the UV light hits it, it starts to harden up pretty good. And underneath this tank, I don't think we're going to have any problem. I need to wipe it down with some alcohol because there's probably wax. I like to wax my bikes. And when we're done with this bike, we're going to wax it up. And I am going to sell it. It's a really nice bike, really fast bike. And I'm at the stage of my life, I'm over 60 years old now, that I don't need a real fast bike. When I was younger, when I bought the bike, and I was into racing and all that kind of stuff, it sounded good. It was a drag bike, and I made this bike into a road bike and the motor's fresh. It's just temperamental, and I just want to get on something with fuel injection and just cruise. Me and my wife just cruise. All right, we got it all taped up. Should be ready to go. I don't advise you to use Rust-Oleum on your motorcycle like that. But this is just the underneath. And I did use some on the frame. If you're going to paint your motorcycle, use a high quality automotive paint product. All right, we'll let that set up. We'll hit another coat, and then we'll pop this tank on there. All right, let's test it. So I'm not going to touch the paint here. I'm going to touch the paint on the tape. Still a little tacky, but not too bad. Good enough to remove the paper. That's a good looking fix. You can't even tell there's JB Weld under there. I bought a new pickcock, but the new pickcock doesn't screw onto my thingamajiggy. So it's got a different thread. So I can't use the new pickcock. It's a nice pickcock, so I took the seal out of it and put it on my old pickcock. Oh, didn't have my tongue right. Anyways, here's the old filter, and it was leaking. And it would go down over top of that and it would thread down in here. But this barb was facing up, and it would cause issues. So I'm going to try to use this one, which came off the other tank that I don't like. It's got a fresh filter on it and a good gasket. So we're going to attempt to use that on the bike. It's like threading a needle. I need a helper. Preston, where are you? He's probably on one of his adventures. Now we just got to cut it, put it on there, and put some gas in this thing. Hopefully it don't leak. In Jesus' name I pray. Oh! sure the slack. I might be able to pull it down to cut it now. I wonder if I can get that thing in a more upright position. Not with these pliers. I ain't never had so much problems. Definitely does need to come straight down, straight over and straight down. Exactly where it needs to go. Air cleaner needs to come off edge. My top secret pieces here. These are what I use to make a negative pressure inside the crankcase, because these older Harleys like to leak. It also helps with the compression. Alright, let's get this thing back together. Whew! This is the Screaming Eagle. So this motorcycle has Screaming Eagle heads, Screaming Eagle air cleaner. It's got Wesco 12-to-1 compression pistons, and a race. I don't know what the camshaft is, but it's supposed to be some type of racing camshaft. And I know that it is bad. I mean, bad to the bone, not bad. I'm hoping it, man, I hope it'll start. Screaming Eagle, patch on my shoulder. Pick up your weapon and follow me. I'm the combat infantry. So the factory one doesn't have that plate. It has like a piece of plastic. There's hardly any air. Definitely got to wash this bike up. I just cleaned the thing out. Now a piece of dirt fell right down in the tank. I gotta run inside and grab the keys. Let's turn the fuel on first. To on position. And see if we have any leaks. take a second for the thing to fill up. Come on, baby. Alright, time to put the jumpers on it. I don't see no fuel squirting. Why ain't I getting any fuel? Come on. Alright, let's take this bowl off and see what we got. Ew, that's some nasty looking fuel. Okay. Oh, that stuff won't even burn. Alright, we gotta clean this out. This ain't gonna work. Probably pull that accelerator pump out. Make sure that thing is not all gummed up in there. Alright. Need to put some air pressure on this thing. Things lined up, make sure the gasket's not falling apart. Quarter 20 bolt sitting on top of the fin on the motor. I don't know what that came from. Alright, you get something to wipe up this old gas. Probably should bring a truck over here and charge the battery. Alright, I think that's going to be it for today. I call that a success. It's been a long time. Just sitting after I put a new carb, just sitting. That nasty old ethanol gas did that to that carburetor, just sitting. That gas is no good for carburetors. I can tell you this, they do not want you to have carbureted cars. And this fuel is just nasty. I mean, does it work? Yeah, it works. You got to keep fresh gas in all the time. You can't let it sit. But we fixed the tank. The tank's working. We got a new used pitcock with a brand new filter on it. And the motorcycle's running after we cleaned the carburetor out and blowed it out real good. Hey, God bless each and every one of you. And I'll see you next time. Wait a second. Are we forgetting something? Oh yeah. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Oh, man. I've had that motorcycle for years. That is a rice rocket killer. This thing here is scary when you get on it. It from 0 to 60 will 4 times double on what any rice rocket will do. I don't care what it is. It beats them all. Trust me, I know. I had a guy tune the last carburetor I had on it, and he says, "You can have this bike. It's too scary for me." He goes, that thing's a death trap. And it's because you can't stay on it. By accelerating, it wants to throw you off the back side of it. God bless you. I'll see you on the next episode. I might put my helmet on and go for a ride now. On the next episode of Fixing Things with Pastor Bill. Man, that thing is bad. Oh, like it.